of Science. Srimati Shantala Keti, our Registrar, Bangalore University. Professor N. Nagaya, Dean, Faculty of Science, Bangalore University. Professor Ashok Hanjigi, Director, PMEB, Bangalore University. I would also like to request Professor Basuraj Angadi, Principal Investigator of the ANRF pair Spoke at Bangalore University, to kindly join the dignitaries on the stage. We move now on to the traditional act of lighting the lamp. The lamp symbolizes the eternal flame of curiosity and discovery that drives scientific progress. May I request all the dignitaries on the dais to join in lighting the lamp to honor the pursuit of knowledge and scientific discovery. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May I request everybody gathered here to kindly rise for the national anthem, which will be followed by the Nadagite.
Good morning all. Respected dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, distinguished speakers, invitees, senior and fellow colleagues and participants. So we are happy and proud to be associated with IISc, one of the premier research institutes in India under the ANRF PAIR program. So Bangalore University is one of the 7 spoke institutes connected to IISc as a hub. And this PAIR network will definitely help us in strengthening our research activities in our university. So today we are happy to host this formal activity as a workshop under this ANRF PAIR network. So this short workshop focuses on 3 very important topics. So first one is on proposal writing, so which I feel will be very much useful for us, faculty members, young researchers, for formulating a fundamental proposal. Second topic is on research grant management and strategies. So third one is on ethics in science and technology, so which highlights on the ethical values which we need to adopt while doing research in science and technology. So in this inaugural function, we have with us our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Jaikar SM, who has been with us from the very beginning of this proposal, helping us, motivating us, and given all the help and support. So on behalf of PAIR team, I heartily welcome you, sir. I request Professor Hanmantappa to welcome sir with a sapling. So we are supposed to have with us Professor Satyam Suvas, our program director, but due to his other commitments, he could not join us today. So we have with us Professor Ashok Raichur, a BS Professor, IISc, and Secretary, Karnataka State Council for Science and Technology, and one of the senior members of our PAIR network. So on behalf of PAIR team, I welcome you, sir. I request Professor Mahesh to welcome sir with a sapling and a memento. We have another chief guest, Professor Praveen Kumar, co-program director of our PAIR network. So he has been the backbone of our project, taking care of all the activities. So on behalf of Bangalore University PAIR team, I welcome you, sir. So I request Dr. Anjali to welcome sir with a sapling. So we have another guest, our registrar madam, so Srimati K.T. Shantala, KS with us. Madam has been helping us in all the administrative process of our PAIR network at Bangalore University. So we welcome you, madam. I request Dr. Ganga to welcome her with a sapling. So we have with us our Dean, Faculty of Science, Professor Nagaya. So I heartily welcome you, sir. I request Dr. Shankar to welcome sir with a sapling. So we also have with us PMAB Director, Professor Ashok Anjagi, sir. So who has been encouraging us from the beginning itself. So I heartily welcome you, sir. So I request Professor Lakshmi Narayan to welcome sir with a sapling. So I welcome distinguished speakers of today's workshop, invitees, all my senior and fellow colleagues, and all the participants. And I welcome one and all present here. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Angadi. May I now request Professor Raichur to kindly give us an overview of the ANRF PAIR network at IISc.
Okay, I think they'll turn the presentation on. I have a few slides to share. So before that, good morning to everyone. And So I have been asked to give the overview because Satyam is traveling today. So what I would like to do is we used this presentation during our when we defended this proposal. So just to give you some idea, I think some numbers have already been given to you. So this program, Partnerships for Accelerated Innovation and Research, as we call it, was initiated by ANRF, that is Anusandhan National Research Foundation, mainly to stimulate scientific innovation in institutions with limited research in a mentorship mode by leveraging the knowledge and expertise of top-ranking institutions. So they identified a bunch of institutes, IITs, IISc, and we were asked to collaborate with the so-called spoke institutes, 7 of them. And I think some numbers are here. So these are the names of the universities that we have finally chosen and we are collaborating now. Bangalore University, Calicut University, Indian Institute of Science, Engineering, Science and Technology, Kumaon University, National Institute of Technology, Nagaland, Pondicherry University and Shivaji University. So out of these, I think 2 are central universities, 2 are CFTIs, and the rest are state universities. So the clause was that you should have 1 local university, so Bangalore University came in as a partner in that. And support internationally competitive research with substantial impact and outcome, and propel the advancement of institutions by upscaling and building advanced research infrastructure and capabilities, and facilitating infusion of best practices and research culture. So as part of that, this will be the first workshop, I would say, where my colleagues, Professor Vikram Jairam and Professor Abhinandan, will speak about research, proposal writing and then ethics in research. And there are 7 spoke institutions, as I just mentioned, and there are more than 25 projects. So there are a bunch of individual projects which are clubbed under 3 verticals. The verticals are structural materials, biomaterials and functional materials. And so the total funding is about 100 crores spread over 5 years. And right now I think 55 crores is already there with us for equipment and facility creation. And of course there will be a large substantial amount for human resources training. In addition to conducting research together, the network also aims to organize several targeted skill development workshops. So this will be the first one, and immediately following this, next week we are having one in our institute, mainly a technical one for scanning electron microscopy and X-ray diffraction. For that, I think we already have 61 participants. So of course, Bangalore University being a local one, so you guys will be there, larger numbers will have to participate in that. At Bangalore University, we have projects related to biomaterials and functional materials, and with a budget of about 7 crores. And of course, this should be the most active, I would say, collaboration, because we are both present here in the city. And the partnership with IISc and Bangalore University is at an institutional level. So it's not like we are already collaborating. There will be one-on-one projects or between groups. But I think everybody who is also not part of this pair project also would be welcome to participate in this. So you could come under the framework where we'll be allowing you to use our facilities. We will be organizing workshops. So all are welcome to participate in this. So I would request Professor Angadi here, so that this information is always disseminated, so that people come and join us in larger numbers. And the special relationship established between through pair apply to all members of Bangalore University, and we also aim to collaborate with other Bangalore University faculty to develop proposals for submission to ANRF, DRDO and other funding agencies. So this will be both a collaboration, let's say, in a research mode, and also we will be mentoring people. So there are 2 things, the objectives of this, along with the development of facilities. So that's kind of a brief overview here. So these are the slides. I just use them as a reference. But in the end, I think at the end of 5 years, we have had a similar experience through another program sometime back through UGC. So we hope we can leverage on that, and we should be able to deliver, and we hope to achieve all the objectives that are there. The entire nation, I think, is looking forward to this. to this program being successful. So with that, I think I would once again welcome all of you. And since this is being the first workshop, so we hope that it will be a useful one, and we hope to collaborate and move forward. So with that, best wishes in the new year, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Professor Raichur. May I now request Registrar Madam to kindly address the gathering.
Good morning, everyone. This is a great opportunity for our university to be associated with ANRF pair, specially guided by IISc. The other day we had visited IISc and we had the opportunity to interact with the best teams. The 7 universities which were listed here were there on that day. And also we had the person who was heading this team, Shivkumar sir, and we had the opportunity to be a part of sharing his vision for this whole team. So, and at the first opportunity, I said Bangalore University will want to host a workshop for all our professors, our scholars, our guest faculty with regard to proposal writing. Because many a times, the common complaint is we give the proposals but they don't come through. So what I thought was, so let us start with teaching you how to give the best proposal, and then rest of the things will fall in place. So I thought the best people who could share their knowledge with you on how to write a fundable proposal in any field, be it science or be it maths or be it in any other field, should be the IISc. IISc is a dream kind of institution for us. I am from MES college, so I know when I was passing through those compound, I always used to feel scientists sit here and do research for our country. That itself was a great thing for us. So now today you have this great opportunity to interact with the best of the brains to get the best out of you. So this should be these sessions, the 3 topics which we have listed for today, which they have listed for today, should be a interactive session, not just listening and going back, but whatever doubts you have in proposal writing, you guys must have already done it already in your field, because you are coming from various cadres of teaching and learning. So you must have already submitted some proposals. Some might have worked through, some might not have worked through. Today you will get to know what is that formula, what is the missing link in your proposals, and how you can bag that proposal, how you can bag that project. So universities are hubs of intellectuals, and intellectuals have to build the society and they have to share their vision with the society. So I feel Bangalore University is very, very honored to host this today, and it is a pride for us. I think it is a pride moment for all of us from the university who is sitting here. So kindly take advantage of this opportunity share your experiences and see what is the vision this team has for you and make the best use of this opportunity. And we as an institution, Bangalore University, will enable you to reach your goals. We are just enablers. I always feel administration is all about enabling you to do your best work, give your best shot, and reach your goals. So, having said this, I hope we all have a very, very nice and beautiful sessions, and sessions which will open up your mind and vistas to all these opportunities which you can, which can be yours. So I thank IISc for coming here to enable us to reach our goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam. May I now request the Honorable Vice Chancellor to kindly share the presidential remarks.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Very good morning to all of you, respected dignitaries on the dais, Professor Ashok M. Raichur, BS Chair IASC Bangalore, and Secretary KSCST, and Professor Praveen Kumar, Shantala Madam, our Registrar, and Professor Nagaya, Science Dean, Dr. Angadi, and Professor Hanjigi, our PMEB Director, Professor Vikram Jairam, Department of Materials Engineering, IASC Bangalore, Dr. Rohit Kumar, HG, Grants Manager, IASC Bangalore, and Professor T.A. Abhinandan, Department of Material Engineering, IASC Bangalore, and Dr. Pritam Kumar Sinha, all the eminent resource persons from IASC and faculty members of Bangalore University and research scholars and my dear students. I am very happy to participate in this workshop, Proposal Writing and Research Ethics in Science and Technology. And at the outset, I would like to thank Indian Institute of Science for considering the Bangalore University one of the spoke institutes under your ANRF peer research program. And you all know ANRF, Anusandhan National Research Foundation. It is established in the Act of Parliament in 2003, and is mainly the offshoot of national education policy, and they have emphasized more on research, innovation, and development in order to provide good research, problem-solving research, and it should impact on our Indian economy. And they have established this ANRF. And see, the Indian Institute of Science is a world-recognized institute. It's our pride institute of our country, center of excellence, and so many the great scientists have born from that institute. Sir C.V. Raman and C.N.R. Rao and Professor Balram, sir, he was the alumni of Bangalore University, and many the faculty members of IASC, they all have a very good connection and academic relations with Bangalore University. It's a proud institute, and collaborating with the Indian Institute of Science is a great, excellent opportunity for all of us, all the faculty members, all the research scholars, all the departments of Bangalore University, and having a research collaboration with the Indian Institute of Science, being a mentor in the institute. And so and as you all know, we are still a developing country, and our Prime Minister always tells, and 2047, by 2047, India should be a developed country and self-sustainable, self-reliant, and Vikasit Bharat. On this, this program is aligned with Vikasit Bharat. And so when you comparing with all other countries, developed countries, and maybe India, we are investing into the research and development is a very small budget probably. When you're comparing with the US, they spend 3.5% of their GDP to the research and development. And even South Korea, Japan, Germany, and other countries. And still we are, especially country like India, developing country, we have been facing this, the crunch of financial investment into the research and development. And we must thank both the central and state government for funding the various research projects. And this is going to help this country and dream of attaining the Vikasit Bharat by 2047. And especially we are happy, and all the faculty, all the committed scientists from Indian Institute of Science are here, and whatever from Bangalore University, we are with you, sir, and for all the collaboration work, and I request all of the faculty members of Indian Institute of Science, and not only this program, the research activity related to any stream, and our departments are doing very well, sir, especially even all the departments also, especially in the science related departments. Even you take mathematics, physics, chemistry, zoology, botany, environmental science, microbiology, food technology, biotechnology, computer science, they're extremely good, sir. And we are happy to participate in the future research activities of your institute. And I don't want to take much of your time. It's a very happy moment for all of us to have this workshop, mainly proposal writing and research ethics in science and technology. And as our madam rightly pointed out, and is going to help our research scholars and students and our faculties of our the institute. And I once again thank Ashok sir and Praveen Kumar, all the faculty members for coming here and giving a guidance, advices to our students. And thank you one and all.
Thank you very much, sir. I would like to call upon Professor Lakshmi Narayana for the vote of thanks.
So, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. Good morning, everyone. It is a privilege and a moment of gratitude for me to propose vote of thanks on this occasion. On behalf of Bangalore University and the organizing committee, I express my sincere gratitude to Professor Praveen Kumar, Co-Program Director, ANRF PAIR, IIC Hub Institute, for his valuable guidance and support in conducting this workshop. And also thank Professor Ashok M. Raichur, Department of Material Engineering, IIC, and Secretary for Karnataka State Council for Science and Technology, being a part of this event. My sincere thanks to our distinguished resource persons Professor Vikram Jairam, and Professor T.A. Abhinandan for joining us today, and to Dr. Rohit Kumar H.E., Grant Manager, and all the eminent faculty members from IIC for their presence. I extend my deepest gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Jaikara Shetty M., for his vision and constant support to participate in our PAIR program and enabling us to organize this event successfully. I also thank the Registrar, Srimati Shantala, Dean, Faculty of Science, Professor N. Nagaya, and Director, PMEB, Professor Ashok Kanjagi, for their unwavering support and guidance in conducting this program. My heartfelt thanks to all the participants, faculty members, and researchers for their active participation both online and offline. I also acknowledge Professor V. Sudesh, University of Law College, for providing department facility and support. Thank you all for your time and support in making this event a success. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lakshmi Narayana. May I request everybody to rise again for the national anthem. There is a song. So we are coming to the end of the inaugural session. A few announcements before we break for tea. Firstly, I would request everybody to gather in the courtyard for the group photograph. This is opposite the open air theatre. The next technical session, the first technical session will be at 12. This will be chaired by our Dean of Science, Professor N. Nagaya, and wishing you all a very fruitful rest of the day.
Good morning, all of you. Now we are starting the first technical session. It is in connection with the writing up of a project proposal and also the research ethics in science and technology. Friends, as all of us know, for the development of any country, how important the science and technology is.
Oh, no point. Okay. Just
For the development of the technology, the progress in science is very, very important. And to have progress in science, how important research is. To carry out research, how funding is very, very important. So nowadays, if we want to conduct or carry out an important and impactful research means we need good funding. Even if you write proposals for funding, all of us may not get, as you know and experienced. Only a few project proposals will be considered for funding. So that specifically depends on how you have written the proposal. So in this regard, today we have this workshop specifically on writing these project proposals in a very important manner and right direction. In the first technical session, we are very fortunate to have the speaker, Professor Vikram Jairam. I am not going to introduce much on Professor Vikram Jairam, as he has already informed us not to introduce much on him, but it is my duty to say a few words on Professor Vikram Jairam. He is working as Emeritus Professor, Materials Engineering Department, IISc. He has served in various committees of SERB, DRDO, and different funding organizations of Government of India. Now, I welcome Professor Vikram Jairam to enlighten us on how to write a right proposal for having funds from different government organizations. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. If you don't get funded after this, it's not my fault, no? So, thank you. It's a pleasure to come here. This is our first visit to Spoke, and I'll echo the words of your registrar, Mr. Shantala. IAC is here to play an enabling role, like she is here to play an enabling role. The programs we hope that will be developed are your programs, your research programs, your students, and your activities. And what we will do is help in whatever way is possible, maybe in triggering some initial activity, using facilities which you don't have, helping you to check proposals before they're written, and so on. So, I'll just make some general observations. Okay. Okay. You have to be careful not to switch it on. Yeah, okay. Just check this a few times. Can I go backwards?
Yeah, down.
Okay, fine. With phase lag. I shouldn't have put animations.
Okay, he will left. That's okay.
Why don't I say next?
Yeah.
Just, yeah. Actually, put the whole, just run through this. Yeah. So I'll just start from the first line. This is something that we got a sense of even before 2014, perhaps around 2010 or thereabouts. General capacity building in institutions and funding to set up facilities and capacity is sort of coming to an end. The government now is looking for competitive grant proposals, not just appeals to install facilities. Now, that doesn't mean those programs don't exist, but they are specific to ministries that offer large capital grants purely for setting up facilities, but not as a part of a research proposal. When you write a research proposal, you are expected to have certain facilities already installed. And these separate schemes for large capital grants also require that they're not mandated, but they help if your institution is willing to put some resources in. It is no use saying we don't have any money. You have to start finding resources. There must be a willingness to ensure that these facilities are used by everybody who can legitimately ask for access. That means there has to be a transparent way of training people, booking, and providing technical support. There must be schemes for maintenance through charging, because everybody knows that it's easy to buy equipment. It is very hard to maintain them afterwards. So you need to put these schemes into operation. Some prior work is necessary to establish your credibility. These days, I can write a proposal on neuroscience now. I just need a good familiarity with AI. So writing a proposal is not very difficult, but people want to see what your credibility is. There are, of course, special categories that exist. You must be aware of them and exploit them. But perhaps most importantly is the starting out period. We all come into the research game with some background. We've done a PhD, maybe done a postdoc. But now we're in a different institution, a different environment, and we have to look at what's going to work in the next 20, 30 years. So you have to ask what is going to sell. It's an important question. And it's not a one-time question. You may have to ask it 10 years down the road. Because many aspects, I come from an engineering background, so a lot of what I say will be peculiar to engineering, but I think if you use a little imagination, you can convert it into life sciences or chemistry or whatever. But many areas have become very mature. If they're very mature, it means what you propose to do is not interesting unless it builds on that foundation and you show what is that incremental addition that you're going to make. And those areas are ripe for translation. Some of them are ripe for burial. That is, you forget about them and move on. But there are others which are ripe for translation rather more than doing fundamental research. Next slide, please. And so if you learned your discipline well, you should be able to change every 10 years. I said bread and butter plus dessert. Bread and butter is doing what you know how to do so that students keep getting graduated and publications keep coming. And dessert is, doing nice things which appear attractive and may establish your reputation in the years to come. So why do I want project funding? It's usual. The reasons are not very different no matter where you are. You need capital equipment, you need maintenance support, you need to pay staff salaries, you want to travel, and you want to get promoted. So all of these require that you establish a good funding base. But don't forget teaching. It is not easy to teach, especially today where attention spans, as you have discovered, are even shorter than they were 20 years ago. It's difficult to teach a subject unless you keep it contemporary, no matter how basic it is. I've just given you a couple of examples there. I mean, okay, I've put phase transformations and steel here because of the metallurgy and materials background, but it's true in fluid mechanics. If you want to teach fluid mechanics and you don't talk about biological examples which are at the cutting edge of what people are trying to do, then you've lost that ability to inspire students. So many of these ideas only come if you're contemporary in research. Now, you can read up about it without doing research, but I would say that is difficult. In order to convey a sense of the excitement in a classroom, you need to be part of the game. So that's another very powerful incentive for doing research. So some of the questions you have to ask, are you just starting out, or have you already established some credibility? If you haven't established credibility, then you need to make your proposal credible. So to just give you an example, a recent round of ANRF has ended, and I'm told in one particular domain, 1 out of 4 proposals were funded. That means you have a 75% chance of being rejected. So this is what you're facing. When I started my career 30 years ago, there was very little funding, but there were very few players. So if you wrote a reasonable proposal from a good institution, you had a very high probability of being funded. It's very different now. There are now IITs all over the place, the NITs, there are centrally funded institutions and private institutions, and all of them now recognize, particularly with rankings and so on, that research is one way of upping your profile. So you're in competition with a lot of people. You have to ask questions like, is this a routine sort of a call? You know, the equivalent of NSF in America is the ANRF here, or DBT, DST. These are generic agencies which fund without any specific domain of interest, broadly in science and technology. On the other hand, there are agencies which look for targeted sort of deliverables. For example, the Ministry of Heavy Industry may look at manufacturing. The Defense Research and Development Organization will target those areas which have direct relevance to defense. So how you write your proposal and what you promise depends on that. Is it basic research or is there a translational component? This is something to ask right at the beginning. I know all proposals ask you to tell them what wonderful things will happen to humanity if we fund you. But you have to write something there. But in your deliverables, don't confuse fundamental research and deliverables and product technology development. Make up your mind. If there is a translational component and you're targeting it because it's a mature field, let's say, and you're looking at going away from just lab-oriented, publication-oriented research to a product, see if you can get a user involved. Because most professors don't have the remotest idea of technology development. They just don't, because they haven't done it. So you are in a much better position to convince a funding agency if you know there's a user who's willing to back you. Back you with substantial resources, not simply back you by writing a letter saying, I think he's a great guy. The literature survey, I have a slide on that, is one of the most important parts and is one of the most neglected parts. People either ignore it or they simply produce 500 references and say, I've done a literature survey, which is very easy today. But if you do it properly, it tells the reviewer that you have done, shall we say, due diligence. You've looked at what the background to the problem you're proposing is, and you've identified some missing gaps. And you're targeting one of those gaps. This is a hard part. This requires time, which is why if there's a deadline 6 months from now, you should probably start working on it right away. Generally, it's good to have one main idea. By the way, all these examples come from, or these points have come from my experience in committees where proposals have either got funded or not funded. Proposals with too many ideas are not credible. You think by saying I will deliver everything, you're like a construction company, you say I'll build it in 6 months. We know it'll take 3 years. But if you do this here, people won't even give you the money. This is not an L1 situation. So you've got to be realistic in your promises. one big idea is sufficient. It is better than having 5 mediocre ideas. Will co-PI strengthen my case is a question to ask today. Getting co-PI is like getting married. You can powerfully enhance your credibility, or you can make a pig's breakfast of the whole thing. But if you can do it properly, it's important today because there are not many problems which a single PI has the expertise to handle. And so in a university like this, you have many departments, you have a large collection of colleagues. The question is, can you leverage these connections to target an activity which makes the proposal more interesting? And finally, realistic timelines and realistic budgeting. People think they can just put anything there. But the people reading your proposal or the people sitting in the committees know how long it takes to do things. So when they see unrealistic timelines, they conclude that you don't know what you're doing. And when they see that you don't know what you're doing, they don't care what you've proposed because they know you won't be able to execute. So I remember there was a special call for a program called, I forget the adjective, something technologies. The first is not elaborate, it's not egregious. It's like DARPA, out of the box type vision proposals. High risk, high reward, next avatar of high risk, high reward. It was called exponential technologies, exponential. It is buried now like many other programs. The first call had 800 proposals. And in the committee we had 1.5 days to decide on them. So this is a situation, and many of them did not have reviews, because if you want 3 reviews from 800 proposals, you need 2,400 people. And many of you will want your proposals funded and reviewed, or reviewed and funded, but you won't waste your time reviewing other people's proposals. This is the ecosystem in which we are working. I hope ANRF will do a better job by and by as it understands the limitations. Next slide, please. So, the sources of funds, I think Rohit will probably do a little more exhaustive job, but I'm just giving you different classes of organizations. There are the ministries like MAIT, DBT, ICMR, and so on. There are things like DRDO, space, and atomic energy, which are a little different. There you need to demonstrate a strong linkage to their deliverables, which usually means you need a partner on their side who will bat for you. Otherwise, it's very difficult to get funding. There are things like the Prime Minister's Industry Academia PhD program, which will allow, one of your problems may be money for supporting PhD students. There are such schemes which allow you to leverage external support to pay for their salaries. There are foreign agencies. For those of you who have international connections, India has bilateral relationships for funding with many countries in the European Union, France, Germany, Japan, the United States, and so on. But very importantly, and I hope Rohit will spend some time on this, you need an internal office to guide PIs. And they must work like an office. There was somebody here from Presidency University. Are you here? Because that was his job. I met him outside. Yeah. So he's like a grants manager, or looking after the responsibilities of what are the potential sources of funding, what are the deadlines, how do you write the proposal, how not to write a proposal, and so on. Some support system like that is something for your administrators. If there are administrators in the room, I would urge them to think about investing some money. forget the restarting in midlife. This is a carryover from another slide, from another presentation. How do you start? Often the most difficult problem is starting. This is like the story about the general with all these medals. I'm sure you've heard it before. Somebody asked you, where did you get all these medals from? And he said, this one, I got this because I was very brave in some war. I got all the others because I got this one. This is what happens with funding. Once you establish your credibility, people want to give you more money. Because by giving you more money, they feel, oh, I've given it to that person. So, it's the starting out which is difficult. I'm going to stop here. I don't want to just run through the slides. This is meant to be an interactive session. So, anybody, any questions at this point? Okay. No, go back. I'll just. Can you go back to the previous slide? So, the starting is the difficult part because if you don't start, you have nothing to show. If you have nothing to show, then people don't know how competent you are. So, the first one is, the example I put is the space technology cell at IISc. I mean, we have a space technology cell. So many young assistant professors will get, 15 or 20 lakhs from there, and it's internal money. That is, the money comes from ISRO, but the decision on who to fund is an internal decision. So you're not competing with the whole country. You're only competing with your colleagues. And the amount is not much, but it enables you to buy some critical piece of equipment, maybe pay a project assistant and so on. So if there are things like that, there are agencies to target. State funding agencies. State funding agencies usually don't have a great deal of money, but whatever it is within your purview and is something where you have a priority for their decision making. Early career grants, especially for women, disadvantaged minorities, they exist. So I think one of the activities of your research program office is to make you aware of such opportunities, tell you what the websites are, deadlines are, and so forth. Your own dean, when all else fails, you can go begging with your begging bowl to your dean or vice chancellor. They always have discretionary money. They'll tell you they don't have any money, that obviously. And there are things like CSR, corporate social responsibility, which if you do the kind of work which appeals to, you may be a chemist working on water purification or something. That is something to target. I skip the restarting in midlife. We'll go on to the next one.
When you mentioned about inclusivity, that is
Right.
women being,
Right.
I have not seen any funding agency having some particular kind of...
Rohit, will you address this? If you know of any... I've been a little out of the picture. I'm sort of semi-retired, but I know these programs exist.
No, that is separate. Suppose I had been into ANRF review committee also, but I have not noticed that there is something which is, they would say that so many applications have come. We have to reduce it to say 50%. But there is no, at least say 3% for women.
No, they won't do that.
There are some special calls.
There are separate calls. Yeah,
In general calls, there
No.
is nothing.
No, they won't do that. They won't do that. That is very dangerous, and committees generally avoid that. What happens inside a committee, of course, will not get outside the committee room, but when, if I can address your answer a question unofficially, there's nothing unofficial. This is going on YouTube, no? Shall we say committees are generally told to be sensitive to certain issues. And these issues are geography, social background, gender, just you can fill in the blanks. But that usually means that other things being equal, if there is a choice to be made, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, next slide, please. So, these are, These are ones where your proposal gets tossed in the waste paper basket or goes into the delete file. Generally, there's no prior background. So, people read your proposal, it looks very impressive. Then they look at your publications. And then they find nothing relating the two. The conclusion is that you got your proposal from the net. I mean, undergraduates write their project from the net. PhD students can write their theses from the net. Why can't professors write their proposals from the net? Of course, they do. So, that's one.
Now AI also.
AI, yes. So, see, I would advise you not to get into that game. There's a way of trying to defeat the system, but you expend so much energy that I think you make more money if you're honest. The Shorty Literature Survey is the one where I've seen many buried. First thing is to say that it's extremely important, but then nobody's done anything on the subject. This is unlikely to be true. The other extreme is to say this has been studied for the last 100 years and 300 references, but then you don't say what's left to do. It looks like everything is done, and you won't identify specifically what it is that you will do to advance the field. And of course, there are people who have charts where the first 6 months is doing the literature survey. Now, this is immediate sort of burial. First time in India no longer washes. Not unless you are making rockets or nuclear submarines. Information is now available. So the government doesn't see why fundamental research, which is freely published and available, should be repeated here. So that one is just gone. I wouldn't even waste any time trying to make that case. The other thing is to say it has application, and therefore there's no science in it, it's repetitive, but then you're not providing any evidence for why, who's going to take on that application. Application doesn't mean it's just bad science. Application has its own metrics of how you make a product, why it should be useful, what does it replace, and so on. Another one is promising too much. You think you're on the safe side if you say you'll do everything. People tend to conclude you will do nothing. And don't start with basic science and end with the final deliverable after 3 years as a product. I mean, these are all obvious if I tell it to you like this. But then when you go and write a proposal, you'll write the same thing. Because you want to be on the safe side. It doesn't put you on the safe side, it only undermines your position. And of course, budgets. These days, people will put any number. Unfortunately, while the proposal is being presented, your chairman or chairwoman of the committee is on the net getting actual prices of some product from the company website. So even before you presented your final budget page, somebody will stand up and say, I don't think that's a very realistic number. So it's better to do some due diligence before, do a bit of inflation, that we all do, in the expectation that it will be cut down, but keep it realistic. Next slide, please. Now, when the proposal is accepted for presentation, I understand ANRF doesn't have presentations. So, I don't know how they'll deal with a lot of things which are associated with plagiarism and proposals that are just manufactured. When somebody presents, you can stop them and say, what do you mean? And you find out immediately in 3 years, like an oral exam in a PhD interview. So, explain the idea in simple language. A committee like chemical engineering or biotechnology is a very broad community. Not everybody knows everything. But they have to sit in judgment. So explain it in simple language so that other members of the committee get what you're saying. Because if you irritate them, they can still deny you funding even if they don't understand what you're saying. This is not a common problem. Most people are not aggressive in front of a committee. But I've seen people bury themselves by reacting to criticism. Somebody makes a critical comment and you say, in effect, who the hell are you to question me? That's your body language. Then from there it is steady downhill. So assume that if somebody is asking you a question, even if it's a stupid question, that it's because you didn't explain it properly. So if there are no oral presentations and everything is going to be judged, it's a bit like NSF, is just judged on your proposal, then you really have to be very methodical in how you write the proposal and present your case. Because in the past, in DST, SARB PAC presentations, the PI was given the benefit of the doubt. They said, oh, he's not familiar with the language, he doesn't know how to write a proposal, but it looks interesting, so let's pay him airfare and have them come to Delhi and present it. Then you find that it's really bad, or that it's good, he just didn't know how to write a proposal. You don't have that opportunity here, because that proposal is all that you have. Nobody's going to invite you for a real-life interview. So I've put this business about budgets. There are all kinds of rigmaroles about how much you can pay staff and so on. These are publicized now, so there's no need to get into an argument. If you find out how much you're entitled to pay your staff and what the contingency travel and other things are, and avoid unnecessary negotiation at the end. Agencies will often ask you to use existing facilities. One of the favorite things is for a PI to say, no, it is in that professor's lab, or it is not accessible to me. The agency is not interested in your excuses. If your institution functions in such a way that the facility they provided last year is not available to somebody this year, then it's your funeral. So there are different financial levels for different levels of scrutiny. So, for example, I don't know what the ANRF current is the same, is it? Yes. Okay. So you have 1 crore. Now, I've seen situations where people will write 1.15. Then there'll be a big argument. Because the proposal is good, they want to fund it, but they know if it is 1.15, it has to go to the next level of scrutiny. The chair doesn't want to do that. It'll delay it by another 3 months. So they go to the PI and say, can you cut it down below 1? You have to take a call there. Do I sacrifice some budget and get my money and move on? Or do I have to have that extra 15 lakhs? Then you must justify it. Next slide, please. This is the hard part. This is once you get the money. First, hiring staff. Typically, in the first year review, half the proposals will say, we are having trouble getting a project assistant. Now, you have to understand your own constraints. Once somebody gives you money, they're not interested in all your problems. Because you have signed the undertaking saying that we have all the resources to carry out the work. Purchase procedures, GT, you know all this. They're an elaborate system. And that system is now, even if it's elaborate, it's at least codified. So you can plan for it. I mean, my own institution, the PIs would say, I couldn't hold this committee meeting for 6 weeks because somebody was out of town. I mean, when I get brainless comments like that, I want to say, well, bye, then don't wait for me to give you the money. Money's gone somewhere else. That's what happens. Agencies now work on a very strict timeline. If you don't accept your money, spend it, and move on, the money will disappear. So, these are things that where your grants office needs to help, poke, remind, and ensure that you're on top of the spending. Space. Here you need a good administrative structure. Many universities are very happy to get money, that they don't worry about what will happen after the money comes. Where will the equipment sit? Who will look after it? Who will maintain it? So the person signing off on the proposal at your end must be aware that you have asked for 2 crores for some NMR spectrometer or something. Where will it sit? You have to provide the physical space. You may have to provide air conditioning and all the other civil infrastructure. And so these are things where when you're called upon to defend your lack of progress, don't rubbish your own institution. That's what I would say. Rubbishing your own institution is like, rubbishing your spouse in front of others. It doesn't get you admiration. So you have to defend your institution before the public. And I had this somewhere else. Remember that the person giving you the money wants to help you. This is something I realized in my first postdoc. The funding agency grant monitor actually depends on you, because their job depends on the success of the projects that they have funded. You think that they are there to scrutinize you, examine you, test you, and criticize you. No, they want you to succeed, because their boss says, you funded these 6 projects, 3 of them are disasters. It questions their judgment. So they are like a bank manager who lent money to a small-scale industry. The industry goes bankrupt. Next slide. Middle of the project. Are you on track? If there are unforeseen problems, being able to hire staff is not an unforeseen problem. But if there are genuine unforeseen problems, tell the funding agency. You may be able to revise your objectives. Committees, no matter how badly you think about them, appreciate honesty. They appreciate your willingness to tell people that, I tried, but this didn't work. And they know the problems that exist in many institutions in the country. They know that PIs are often fighting their own internal battles. Write midterm reviews and reports. This is something where many people just slip up. They don't bother. The system here is such that you get away with it. But you get away with it at a price. Basically, the committee says, well, we don't know what they did. The report is very scratchy. And they remember. And so when you come around for funding next time around, a sizable number of the projects are extended. That is, people are unable to spend the money. This is the irony. Every academic institution in India is full of people who say, I don't have enough money. But you give them the money, they don't know how to spend it. So every project reaches its timeline with unspent money, and the need to extend the project in order to be able to finish your deliverables and complete your purchases. Give people warning, because agencies don't want to extend projects. For them to be able to say, I funded so much and these are complete and therefore give me a medal, that is their objective. Their objective is not, it's like a PhD student, you go on extending your PhD 10 years later. That's not useful to the institution. So my last point is something that one I just told you about. Agencies are your friends. So help them to help you. Next slide, please. The end of the project. Now this is an important point. Is the work likely to continue? For example, if you want to establish a reputation in a field, one project is not going to do it. You've now developed some expertise, you have facilities, you know how to do things, and because you're well known, students want to come and work for you. This is the time to think of how you can continue to build capability in this domain. And so you have to prepare for the next phase of funding. This is often difficult. It's like, storybooks. It's easy to write the first one. It's writing the second one that's difficult. So you can't just say, I'll do more. I did barium strontium titanate, I'll do bismuth lanthanum titanate or something. It has to go beyond that. Because remember, it's competitive. So the same agency says, I've already funded this person. There are other 300 people who are waiting to get money. Do I give this person more money? It has to be very good then. Or else, I've started them. Now they can find their own way out in the field. Write a good closing report. Even if nobody reads it, it's for your satisfaction and for your own group. A closing report is not just putting your papers back to back. It is putting in all the issues that you encountered when the work was done. It serves as a document which can be used later by a new student, or if the technology emerges from it, people have the actual raw data. It's not the final data which finally makes its way into the publication. Next slide, please. So the first point is about some sort of self-understanding. We're all in the same game, but some of us are better than others. And some of us have certain ways of functioning. We're narrow, we go very deep into a subject. There are others who, bounce around from field to field. Ask yourself where you are in the whole game. It's okay to try to deceive the funding agency, but don't fool yourself about what you can do. Be aware of what agencies are funding. This is again where a grants office will help, because now there are so many opportunities that it really makes sense for the administration to provide this as a facility. Go to conferences. This is a very strange thing. You would think that if people are given money to go to conferences, that they would go. But only half of them or 1/3 of them do. The others are not comfortable going. They'd rather sit in Malleshwaram. Go to conferences, because this is where you meet people. You will also meet people from government. They will know who you are. They'll remember. These things are not official. They're not going to say, I had a coffee with somebody and let's fund them. But they remember, they see your presentations, they see the kind of work you do and the kind of your students give presentations, for example. And then they sense that this is an activity that needs to be supported. So the primary way in which people know what you're doing is if you go to conferences. So, as I said, divide your efforts into the things which you know how to do, and therefore you go on incrementally advancing the field there, and then plan for new areas. I mean, if you don't do AI today, there are many things, many fields in which you can't make a contribution, because the way to make a contribution in that area is not by doing 100,000 experiments. It is by using this type of approach. So the field becomes accessible to you if you pick up AI, and it is just inaccessible and you have to move on to something else if you don't. So you have to prepare yourself, and that's still possible when you're 30, a little more difficult at 40. 50, you better find somebody who you're friends with, and so on. But the point is, you start as an assistant professor, around 30, and you have 35 years. It's a long time. It's a long time today. Next slide, please. Collaboration, this is a very it's a schizophrenic thing. Even when we hire people, when we promote people and give awards to people and so on, we're never quite sure how to evaluate collaboration. On the one hand, we see collaboration means that he's leaning on that person. On the other hand, we say, they're able to leverage all kinds of other skills. But agencies want collaboration because they see they're getting more bang for their buck. They're given a certain amount of money, and now there are many different kinds of expertise which are being brought to bear on the same problem. So they don't necessarily want one individual hero to run the whole project. Technological problems are obviously multidisciplinary. I can't think of any technological project where one skill set will work. But even many scientific, pure science problems now are multidisciplinary. A person trained in one way is unlikely to make a dent in any important problem by themselves. And so for successful collaboration, you have to, as collaboration is not, I have a TEM and you have an NMR spectrometer, I'll do the TEM pictures and you do the NMR. That's not what I mean by collaboration. Collaboration is at this level, where the problem is defined in such a way that both people exchange ideas and therefore do something that they would not have been able to do individually. It can extend across institutions. I'll skip the last part. It's a little too public. But the point is, you never know how a collaboration will work out. But you have to guess, because it is not just a technical issue, it's a personal chemistry issue. There are many people with whom you have excellent personal chemistries in the bar or in the coffee shop, but that doesn't extend to how to do research. But that is essential. You have to be able to agree on how to go about things on a day-to-day basis, professionally. And PAIR, in a sense, is an example of the last point. The networking that you do allows you to participate in programs where you have a skill which maybe your colleagues don't appreciate or can't make use of. But then you can participate in the program because somebody else somewhere is looking for, I don't know, computational skill or a particular piece of equipment that you have. Next slide, please. Getting people to do the work. See, this is a question we all have to ask. I need to get students, I need to get postdocs. Why should somebody come and work for me? So whenever a professor tells me that the students that they have are all idiots, it's worth pointing out to them that if they're not idiots, would they actually come and work for you? So everything has a balance. So we are all able to attract a certain level of capability to come and work with us. So you have to know what is it that you're offering. I mean, salary is important. If there are big differences in what you're offering and what the neighboring institution down the road is offering, that's not a good situation. People will go for that extra 5,000 rupees. But usually beyond a point, it doesn't matter. To some extent, you may have to tailor the... Okay, this has to do with dealing with students, so I'll skip it. But a project proposal is written in a certain way with certain deliverables. But sometimes the students' interests don't match. They may not be as good as you think at what you wanted them to do. Instead, they're good at something else. Now you have to tailor the problem. And so your deliverables are going to change. And this is the sort of massaging and gamesmanship you would have to do with the funding agencies. That's something we all have to learn. But the point is, don't waste time attacking student quality. Next slide. See, these are other things. What should you work on? Should you chase money? I think these are personal things. I can't tell you not to chase money. If you want to chase money, you will chase money. Should you work on traditional things or where what you are proposing is an incremental change? I work in some of those areas. They're very old, they're very traditional, but they're still of interest. But then I have to understand 30 years or 40 years of work before I propose something. Whereas if it is some two-dimensional material that somebody discovered yesterday, then you can say, I will study this. And there's not much justification needed because it's 2D and nobody has ever synthesized it before. So these are some of the decisions you have to make. Experimental research versus theory and computation. Many people come here and say there's no come here, meaning they've been, let's say, abroad or somewhere outside this country. They come and find no resources for experimental work and say, I'll do modeling. Modeling is actually a very high form of activity. It's not done by people who can't do experiments. So I wouldn't take that approach. It's very easy to do bad modeling, and that doesn't get you anywhere. Because everybody knows softwares are available and everybody can plug and play. But the output, what use is it? Yeah, that's enough. Let's go on to the next slide. So these are some suggestions for your administrators, if there are any here. So one of them is providing some basic facilities. It'll depend on the domain we are talking about, where they see faculty strength. It can't be done across the board. So a judgment has to be made. I will support this and not that, which means you will annoy some people and you will please some people. You have to do that. If you give everybody 20 rupees, it's not going to help. And this is a permanent feature of hiring. Because every time a new person is hired, if you want them to do research, if you just want them to teach 10 courses, then fine. But if you want them to do research, then you have to ask what is their strong point, what resources do they need, and go about kickstarting them. See, that person is coming fresh with nothing. So in order for them to have credibility before a funding agency, they need to show evidence of some activity. That's what you're providing. And as I said, a strong research grants office and filing UCs, all this sort of nonsense which we think is unimportant, but which can delay subsequent, the closure of the project and writing your next proposal. Partial support This is something where there's been a lot of back and forth with funding agencies. Even inside the committee, we have had disagreements with the DST representatives. The DST representatives say, let them pay 20%. Where the hell will they suddenly get 20% or 2 crores from? They have enough money. The kind of discussion that goes on. Good God, it's been on YouTube. Okay. But the bottom line is, funding agencies are also asking, why don't universities generate resources? So it's no use saying, I don't have any money. It's a private institution. They say, well, you're charging fees. You set aside a certain proportion of your earnings to kickstart your research, if those are your ambitions. Providing partial maintenance support. So there are special schemes. This is where these schemes are important, where the facilities that you bought 3 years ago and have run out of warranty, they will break down the day after the warranty expires. You know that. So what do you do at that point? Limiting course teaching loads. You cannot say do whatever you're doing before and do research. It will not happen. That's all. Finished. So there's no point arguing about it. You either accept it or you say my teaching is more important and I have 100,000 undergraduates and we're going to do it that way. Then forget about research. And encourage travel to meetings. I've told you one reason why, but it's really in conferences, and it's not because you're going to listen to a specific talk. It does not work like that. You go to a conference primarily to get out of home. Doesn't matter where you go. You go to a new environment, you listen to people, you talk about your work, and sometimes something clicks. This is the way it has happened in practice. It is not because I understood the program, I went to those talks and I learned what I wanted and came back and implemented them. And there's an illustration of institutional support. This is a bit formidable, but point is you can divide it by 100 if you like. The argument is the same. How much money do you need to do this sort of a thing from the administration standpoint? If you have an institutional corpus of 1 crore earning 10%, you have 10 lakhs every year. If you distribute 5 lakhs and put 5 back in the corpus, next year you can get 5.25 lakhs, which is not a big increase over 5. In 10 years, what you provide will become, its value will become negligible. What 5 lakhs is today, 6 lakhs is not going to be sufficient 6 years from now. On the other hand, so if you want to seed faculty to the tune of 5 crores, you need 100 crore corpus. That's the bottom line. So you have to build reserves of money given this sort of a target. So the last example is what actually happens in a major American university. They make an interest of maybe $100 million a year. They do not give it away. They only give a fraction of it because they know that they have to keep building it up. Next. Actually, I'll skip these because some of these are a little too specific to engineering. Okay, maybe just for illustration purposes, let me just run through this. Giving some examples of either basic science or in a mature field, or basic science in a new field, or a technology development in obviously a field which is somewhat mature. So the example I've taken here is a program called GTMAP, Gas Turbine Materials and Processes. Actually, one of the reasons for talking about this is because the agency was unable to spend its money. Now, you may say that none of you work on anything remotely related to gas turbines, but there are enough institutions working in the area of materials for high temperatures which are relevant to gas turbines. But we did not get enough proposals. We did not get enough proposals, even though there was money, was because the proposals were scrutinized, and if they didn't like what you proposed, they said, please change it. Do this rather than that. And this PIs are unwilling to do. So, if you want complete freedom in anything you want, then this is not the way to go. This is not the kind of program to target. But if you are, remember that if you do what the agency wants you to do, nothing stops you from doing the other things. You can do all your interesting research at a fundamental level, as long as you provide the deliverables that the agency wants. So, it's an example of where funding is available, but people are not willing to make the compromises necessary. The second example is something, again, which has come up. These are all practical examples. I'm not making them up. Somebody wanted to take a sensor. This is a semiconductor sensor. It measures temperature by measuring the change in electrical resistance. It's a routine thing. Any number of people who will make these little sensors, put a contact, measure the resistance response with temperature and say, congratulations. Now, what the hell are you going to use the sensor for? Now comes the next question. In this case, it was an application at high temperatures where it's not accessible. So it's inside an engine, it's at high temperatures, you want to know what the temperature of the engine is. Now, the engineering issues involved in converting it from a lab to this specific application are challenging. So if you're not prepared to do that, it is not enough to say, I'll stop here, because the agency is not interested. They want you to go the whole hog or nothing. And because people are not willing to stick their necks out in the uncertainty of getting into territory they're not familiar with, they don't do it. So this broadly addresses a field where, let's say, all kinds of new things are happening. So it's a case of 2D semiconductors. So you have one niche capability. It may be in synthesis, it may be in doing band structure or whatever it is. That's your specialty. But you want to be part of a national 2D semiconductor mission program. So how do you tie in with something like that? Because when there's a program like that, you will find proposals in this area are all diverted there. They won't be considered as part of a regular SERB or ANRF proposal. They'll say, oh, this is batteries. The DST already has a mission on batteries. So if that's the sort of thing you're doing, it may be necessary to see how you can tie up with other people who are providing other parts of the picture. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a little bit too technical. Let's go to the next slide. I don't know if technology development is of great interest in this audience, but often we think that there's a simple way to go from lab-oriented work to technology. It's actually a little more complicated, because one of the questions you have to ask is, if what I've done is going to be useful as a product, how do you know that it is actually going to be useful as a product? You can't say, I won't know until I finish the product and after you give me the money. It's not good enough. There must be a sense of the background work that you can do to show that if it is made this way, it delivers this kind of an output, that it is likely to be of interest. So I'm not talking of high technology readiness levels. I'm still talking of the lower ones. But it's one that gets out of the basic science. It is now moved into a specific product. So I don't think there are too many additive people here, but I'll take this example here of the scaffold business. There are probably some biologists in the audience. You say you want to make a scaffold, tissue scaffold, or I don't know. You have some new way of doing it. You optimize your pore, your curvatures and the topography so that cells adhere, stuff like that. And it has the right combination of stiffness, dynamic viscosities, and strength, and so on. Now, the first thing people ask you is, have you got any clinical connections? And doctors are terrible to work with. They're usually too busy. So, 5 minutes, done, okay. So, these are issues that require you to go outside your comfort zone. That's the last slide. No, skip all this quantum computing. Next slide. Next one. So, I'll end here. So, your collaborator in IASC is basically here to address some of these issues and help you to take it forward. Okay, I'll stop there. Thank you.
So it was quite informative, especially like for the youngster who are starting their career. Does it really matters like while scrutinizing, the proposal, do you deeply look into like from where it comes from, whether reputed institute or universities or the college?
You can't not look at it. The previous question we had was in a sense the inverse. That is, you say this is a good proposal, but it comes from an institution where they have very little resources. We must encourage this person. By the same token, I have encountered situations where somebody effectively said, we expect better from this institution. So, I'm not answering the question you asked. You're implying that if it's from a good institution, a bad proposal will be funded simply because it's from a good institution. I don't think that happens.
Something of that kind.
No. If anything, it's the other way around. People tend to say, oh, it's an excellent department, it's an excellent institution, but this doesn't look.
Sir, and one more question. Most of the time when the proposal gets rejected, just like the paper, they give specific comments. Why can't it happen in proposal?
It does.
Is it like
I'm
because
told
of the
ANRF
size?
is now doing it. They give you a digested.
No, I got my ARG rejected. They gave a very generic comment.
Your portal, then request them, then it comes to you automatically.
Okay, maybe I had to check that. I was disappointed. I just stopped.
No,
at
you're
that
right.
stage.
This has been a long-standing problem with funding agencies that they didn't have a seamless system of taking. You see, you can't just import the comments. You have to edit the comments and send them to PIs. It was not happening, and PIs were very, annoyed about it. But I'm told this is happening with the NRF.
The first time it does.
First time.
Thank you.
It doesn't help. PIs are still annoyed. Being told why you got rejected doesn't.
Sir, what would be your suggestion for late bloomers?
How late?
By 10 years? Because I got my proposal rejected because I was out of the box because I was not 25. Then the project said it would be granted for people less than 30.
I had a thing on midlife crises there. I mean, yours is not a midlife crisis, but I don't know. This is something better discussed privately rather than, because it's too individual specific. It'll help if you're female, because there are schemes for bringing women back into the workforce after they've started a family and things like that. But, I mean, we can chat about it over lunch if you want.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
So these are the questions from other hall.
Oh, okay.
If it's from Dr. Akshata, if one is unable to pursue the research area in which PhD or PDF is obtained and would like to explore themselves with new area, where over time they gain some experience, is it worth writing project in such areas?
It is if the area is related and you can show that your experience in whatever your experience is in can be translated to this new area. It is not that, but if it's something totally different, people will question whether you have the competence to do it. Or another possibility is to go and spend a year in some other lab building up your credentials. I mean, this is what faculty members do on sabbaticals. They get into new fields which they can then use to leverage the next stage of their career.
So I have another question.
Yeah.
From the other hall. From the reviewer's perspective, which section of a proposal carries the maximum weight in funding decisions and why?
it's generally not a good idea to worry about these sorts of things because you never know who's going to read what. Once you write a proposal, if you do, for example, if you do a bad executive summary, the person may not read the rest of the proposal. If your literature survey is bad, they may question your knowledge of the field. If your deliverables, if the way in which you plan to structure your work doesn't make sense, then they will say it doesn't make sense. So I wouldn't worry about this. This is taking too much of a examination strategy type of approach to.
Sir.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't quite get that. Uh-huh.
The person who proposal is from different field.
Well, it occasionally happens that the funding agency sends the proposal to a reviewer who doesn't do a good job. That's what you're saying. This happens with journal papers also. You get comments which you think are idiotic. We hope it won't happen too often. I mean, you have to trust a funding agency, but sometimes, the way the databases are built up, people list what their strong points are, and so proposals are sent out like that. And if they are sent, you can get a bad review from even an expert in your field, simply because they haven't read it. They haven't read it, and the deadline, 3 reminders have come, so they quickly read it and say something. So, I can't tell you what to do. This is a problem that has to be addressed from the other end. Yeah.
So we have
the number of project applications.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, the number of applications.
Sorry.
Number of applications
Yeah.
are so many. That reviewers are a few.
Correct.
That is the problem.
Yes.
Is what I think. And when you kind of try to read it within a limited time, there are lapses that happen. So that's what
I've had indignant letters from very capable people saying, what is this? Some words. I think you must judge a system not by individual responses, but whether on average it is doing its job. If you can only fund one, if you remember 20 years ago in NSF, the strike rate for a proposal was 1 in 10 in the US. People accepted it. That means you wrote 10 times as many proposals. That's why being a professor in many American universities is a very harrowing time.
So yet another question from the other hall. So basically the student is asking whether promising of deliverables and commercialization of the deliverable, is it a very important thing to mention in proposals, all proposals?
No, it isn't, obviously. If what you're doing is basic science, it doesn't lend itself to commercialization. You don't even know whether what you're doing is going to become capable of translation. So you've got to make up your mind. Where are you starting and where do you hope to end? If you're starting at basic science, in a 3-year program, you are certainly almost impossible to reach a commercializable level. All you can indicate is the potential. That if this happens, then people will understand a little more, and therefore, if 3,000 other people do that, that's what quantum computing is today. So it is not that anybody promises a device at the end. Unless they're already working on a device and they're saying, instead of, I don't know this field, but 40 qubits, I'll do 55. If it is a targeted number like that, where the difference matters, then yes. But not just basic science to commercialization, no. Shouldn't do it.
So it's a question from Soumya. Should proposal focus more on mechanistic understanding or translational outcomes to improve success rates?
To improve?
Success rates.
It depends. If you're writing to, the Ministry of Environment, MOEF, and you're promising something in the nature of water remediation, you're addressing a practical problem. It has to be scalable. It is not simply doing chemistry in the lab. So I don't think there's a single answer to that. The question is, are you targeting a fundamental innovation, or are you targeting a translation to a large scale?
Aim from the background of the completed research project in terms of collaboration with academic institutions or research institutions and also with industries. And these things have been explained very well by the Professor Vikram Jairam. In this regard, on behalf of the Bangalore University and all of you, I express my sincere gratitude. Thank you very much, sir. Now, the second talk of
So on behalf of Bangalore University, may I request Professor Nagaya to give a sapling and a memento to Professor Vikram Jairam.
Now we have the second talk on research grant management and strategies by Dr. Rohit Kumar, working as grants manager, Office of the Research Grant, IISc Bangalore. Now I request Dr. Rohit Kumar to make his presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for having us here and for giving me this opportunity to interact with you all. If I have to introduce myself, I am Dr. Rohit. I am biochemist by training, and now I am a grants administrator. I worked with the Department of Science and Technology, Government of Karnataka, for almost 8 years, and I coordinated some of the important programs for the department, which include the funding, R&D funding initiative, which is the VGST. Now I am working with the Indian Institute of Science as grants manager, and now I am supporting the institute researcher in getting information about the funding opportunities and supporting proposal for those opportunities. So Professor Vikram has provided you a roadmap to transform an idea into a fundable proposal document. So now you know how to prepare a document. So then the next question would be, where should I submit that document to? So what are all the opportunities that are there which I can tap and which I can use to get a grant from? Because despite increases in the R&D, overall R&D spending, the extramural research funding in India is extremely competitive. So we don't want to miss any of the opportunities that comes our way. So we have to keep a track on what are all information, what are all opportunities that is available for us. Next slide. So before getting into the opportunities, I hope you all know that we can categorize the type of grants into two ways. One is based on the agency which is providing you the grant. So based on that, we can categorize into like government grants, foundation grant, corporate grant, or non-profit grants. Like by the name of it, you can get to know what is the type of the agency which is funding you. So if I have to focus on the government grants, these are usually provided by a ministry of state or the central government, like the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MIT, Ministry of Mines, Ministry of Coals, who will have a specific programs designed to fund the research projects which are aligning to their department's ministry's mission. So then these can be provided through a department under a specific ministry, with the likes of the DST or the DBT or the Department of Health Research, so who will have specific programs for funding R&D projects. So then there can be some of the autonomous organizations of the various departments of governments, like the ANRF or the ICMR, can also give you funds for your research. So based on the purpose for which the funding is provided, it can be like there are number of grants, like if it is for a research, it is a research grant, conference grants, infrastructure grant, capacity building grant. So each if you name a purpose, there is a grant to it, and each funding agency, they'll have their own terminology, so there may be overlapping with some of these types. Next one. Coming to the funding agency, so with an Indian researcher perspective, we can differentiate funding agency into three types. First is the national agencies who work and operate within the Indian systems, like the DST or DBT. So there are some international agencies also who are interested in funding research which is happening in India. So like the NIH, EMBO, British Council, or UKRI. So who have specific programs for funding our projects also. And there are bilateral funding agency wherein two countries come together to form an agency, which will have specific programs to fund our research. So this includes the IGSTC, which is between India and Germany, and CEFIPRA, which is like India-France collaboration, and IUSSTF, which is Indo-US forum. So next one, please. So the type of call also varies between the agencies. So depending on the agency, they can invite a letter of intent, which is basically 1 to 2 page document. The very purpose of the letter of intent is to give the funding agency an early indication of your interest to submit a full proposal. So and upon reviewing of a letter of intent, the agency may invite select investigators to submit a full proposal. So in contrast, the full proposal is a very comprehensive document which includes different sections of a proposal, and their length may vary between the agency and depending on the complexity of the opportunity. And there are joint calls wherein the funding agency will mandate you to submit the proposal along with a collaborator, and that collaborator may be from an industry or from an international agency. So wherein both the partner institutions will be funded by the counter institutions, like the Indian PI will be funded by an Indian funding agency, and the foreign partner will be funded by the counter organization. So now let's go through each and every agencies and what are all some of the important programs they have. So it is very difficult to list all the programs. I have just highlighted some of the important ones. So to get a broader perspective of what all opportunity you have from each and every agency, I request you all to go through the websites and to select whichever is appropriate for your project. So the ANRF, they have different programs. They start with the National Postdoctoral Fellowship, wherein they give a fellowship to a candidate who has awarded with the PhD, and they give money through fellowship and the research grant and overheads to the institution. They also have an early career opportunity through Prime Minister Early Career Research Grant, wherein any faculty within 42 years of age and within 2 years of joining a new institution can submit an application to this opportunity, and you can get up to 60 lakh for a period of 3 years. And there are opportunity for the researchers who are belonging to SC/ST community also through the Inclusivity Research Grant. And you have advanced research grants, which is a very popular opportunity. Last year, more than 12,000 applications were submitted to this program, and you can get up to 1 crore for your project for a period of 5 years. And the next call will be out on 1st of April. If any one of you are interested, you can start drafting your proposal now. Then you have ARG for mathematical studies like ARG matrix. And ANRF also have a mission mode program which is called as Mission for Advancement for High Impact Areas like MAHA. So they have announced programs for EV, MahaMedTech, 2D materials and AI in science and engineering. So if you are working in any defined thematic area, you can look for any opportunities under this program as well, wherein the quantum of money will be very high, and it is consortium mode program. Next one. So the Department of Science and Technology also have a lot of programs wherein they have research and development program and capacity building program, and also institutional capacity building program. So based on the R&D, under these R&D programs, they invite proposals for various opportunities, like they have one for additive manufacturing. So which is very specific, which was under the Nano Science and Technology program. So then under the capacity building, they have something called as Inspire Fellowship, which is for both the doctoral students and for the faculty member. Then they also have Vice Kiran Fellowship program for the women candidates. Then under institutional capacity, institutions can submit application for strengthening the research infrastructure. So they have FIST, SAFE, and the very recently the SATI. So wherein they give money for setting up the infrastructure facility. And they also have a specific program because for repair and managing the existing facility, which is the Supreme. So wherein you can ask for money to repair your existing facility which you have set up from the previous grants. Next. So this I hope you all aware of the VGST programs which is funded by the Department of Science and Technology, Government of Karnataka. So they have 5 different programs. First one is the grants for research excellence, wherein they provide this is a research grant wherein they provide budget up to 40 lakhs for each selected projects. And they also have an infrastructure strengthening program with the K-FIST, so the Karnataka version of DST FIST, so wherein they give money up to 30 lakh. So then they have one program for early career researchers through Early Career Research Award, and they give 10 lakh rupees for each selected beneficiary. Then there are 2 other programs like the FDP or the award for outstanding research paper, just to recognize the high quality publication in specific field. And the Department of Biotechnology also have various programs for the researchers who are working in biotechnology, like the India Science, Technology and Innovation Portal and the India Biosense, wherein they compile the funding opportunities on their portals. But the thing is, these people also rely on the website. Information is there on the website. So there may be some lag between the updation of these portals. So the best thing is to keep a track on the opportunities, that is by going through the website. At least if you can do it on a weekly basis, you'll know, because you don't want to waste your time, like when you get to the opportunity, if you have just 10 or 12 days left, so then you will not have sufficient time to prepare your proposals effectively. So it is always advisable to keep checking the agency's websites once in a week, so that whenever the opportunity is out, you will get to know about those opportunities. Coming to the management of the grant. So the process of applying for, receiving and managing a grant is called as grant life cycle. So there are multiple stages of grant life cycle, from planning to the final submission of report. You have to manage your grant. So from the planning to the awarding of the grant, we call it as pre-award stage. And once you got the money, from the time you receive the money to the final submission of your report, that stage is called as a post-award stage. So you need, if I agree with Professor Vikram that researchers, they can't spend time on administration of their projects. So instead, if you have a team within your institution who can support you in the entire grants management period, whether it is pre or post award, it would be very helpful, and it would reduce the administrative burden on you, because that will give you more time to do research. Next one. So next, please. Okay. So if you have an in-house team, they can help you with respect to the pre-award. They can help you with exploring the opportunities by going through the individual funding agency websites, and they can disseminate those information within the institute researchers. And once, if any of the institute researcher is interested in submitting an application, they can also help you by preparing the templates for the required documents, so that before you start working on the proposal, if you have a template of what an online application looks like, or what are the documents that you need to submit on the portal, then that will give you an heads up, so you can start working on what are all the required documents that you want for the proposal submission. So then once you start working on the proposal, they can also help you with coordinating with the funding agency if you have any queries on the guideline. So if someone who is working in grants management, but we hope that they will get it back under ANRF, maybe with some changes. So there are specific opportunities for women. And especially if you have any break in your career, then you have higher chances of getting such fellowship. And there are multiple opportunities. You can try those. Yeah. See, startup grant. See, there is two different definition for startup grant. Let me clarify. So SCRB used to have something called a startup grant previously, but what they meant was an early career faculty who is submitting an application. Now they renamed that startup research grant to the Early Career Research Award, PM ECRG. So then there is one more startup grant, which is for a company which is a startup company who has an idea which can be commercialized. For them, either it is an idea to POC or from commercialization to next stage. So for that also there are a lot of funding opportunities, especially from funding agencies like BIRAC. So they give money for the startup companies to commercialize their product and to develop their product. So that is commonly termed as startup grants.
So that should be innovative?
Of course. That's the first mandate for any of the startup grant. It should be innovative, and it should be able to commercialize, and it should have a societal benefit also.
It can have societal beneficial and it can be commercial also. But what if it is regular basis, not innovative?
Regular.
Which can help the women to develop themselves or the societal basis.
See, if you have a product, there should be someone to buy it. If you think there is a demand for your product, then it's a good product.
Okay. Hello.
What could be the technology readiness level for the proposal to get accepted by the funding?
See, the TRL levels, that depends. That is very specific between the research programs. If the funding is for a research project, unless they mention that you should have a TRL level of so and so, then they are not expecting you to reach a specific TRL levels. If they are mentioning, only then you need to worry about whether your research is in that particular TRL level or not. Most of the times these TRL levels will be included only for those which are like translational research, or if it is something which is a startup grant. So only in those cases the TRL levels will be mentioned, and if they are expecting it to be in some level, they will clearly mention it in the call guideline.
So dear friends, we are already in short of time. I think if there are some questions, I think these can be clarified during the lunch time, because we have to start the second technical session by 2 o'clock. I think Dr. Rohit Kumar, he has explained very well about the various types of the research proposals so that one can write, and the various the funding agencies within the country and outside the country, as well the bilateral funding agencies. And again, he has explained very well about the eligibility criteria to get a particular scheme under a particular funding agency. I think with all these things, I think I have assumed that you have been enlightened by the two talks, talk number 1 and talk number 2. So now, on behalf of the Bangalore University and all of you, so let us thank Dr. Rohit Kumar for his nice presentation on management of research grants and strategies. Thank you very much, Rohit Kumar.
So on behalf of all of us, may I request Professor Nagaya to give a memento and a sapling to Dr. Rohit Kumar. Yeah. And on behalf of the entire pair team here, I would like to thank Professor Nagaya for chairing this session. Thank you. We will now break for lunch. So everybody, in your files, there is a lunch coupon. Kindly utilize that. And we will meet again for the next technical session, which is at 2? Yeah, 2:15. We will make the next technical session.
Whose name is Professor T.A. Abhinandan, former Chairman, Department of Material Engineering, IISc Bangalore. He has been actively involved with the Government of India, science and technology policy formulation, and serves in various funding agencies. Now I invite him over to the stage and address this small gathering, sir. Over to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Very good afternoon to all of you. And I thank everybody at the Bangalore University for inviting me to make a short presentation about certain aspects of ethics in research. What I have is a short presentation. It will cover some key things that typically go undiscussed in our day-to-day conversations about doing science. There is a formal part to ethics, and that is taken care of by your ethics board. Whenever you want to take up research involving people, involving animals, and so on. So there is an institutional ethics board that you go through, right? So we will not be talking about those aspects. Those are all codified, and you all know what you need to do. So the stuff that I will be talking about is basically, I'm not an expert, I do not work in this area, but this is something that I have a lot of interest in, for nearly 20 years now. And I've been following developments in this field broadly at the popular media level, blogs and newspapers and so on. And of course, whenever it is required, I also look up papers. But I do not claim to be an expert. I do not claim this to be my academic area. So there is a good entry point for us to discuss certain norms of science. And these norms were sort of listed. They are broadly unspoken, unwritten, tacit, and very implicit. So the idea is to sort of think about these norms. And they were originally formulated by a sociologist of science back in the 40s, Robert Merton. So when we enter the field of science, when we enter this tribe of scientists, what is it that we are signing up for? Do we know what it is that we are signing up for? We learn how to do science, how to do experiments, how to do theory, and so on. But are there other things that we have implicitly signed up for? And those are the ones that I'll be talking about. And I will present it in the context of Merton's norms of science. Like I said, these norms are mostly unwritten, and so it's there in the air. And when we talk about certain violations of these norms, they are definitely talked about. And at that time, we are able to say, no, this is wrong, that is wrong, and so on. But we are probably not able to articulate why it is wrong and what is it that is there in the scientific set of rules that makes it wrong. We don't have any such things, and that is why in this talk I would like to talk. What are these? So the norms of science, as enunciated by Robert Merton, are four universalism, and that basically says all are capable of doing science, all are capable of entering into this field and contribute to advancing knowledge. The status does not matter. Status definitely, that is what many people would say, but the status does not matter. It's something that we all assume. It's a part of what we do. The second one, he actually called it communism. Okay, yeah, I'll just carry this along. So, so the second norm that he had was, he named it communism, but it effectively means communitarianism in the present day parlance. So your findings belong to everybody, right from the get-go. And you get recognized only for what you found, but your main job is to contribute to this common pool of knowledge. Disinterestedness, your primary motivation is to contribute to this common pool of knowledge and not specifically for personal profit. The personal profit does arise as a part of your contribution. So you get recognized for those things. You get equations named after you, you get some processes named after you, and things like that. Or whenever people cite your work, they say so-and-so's work, and so on. So that recognition is something that everybody is interested in, but that is not the primary motivation for doing this. The primary motivation is to contribute to the knowledge, and that knowledge, again, it is expected to get into the common pool. And finally, organized skepticism. Every finding is open to further critical inquiry. And again, this harks back to universalism. Everybody is equal in this sense. It is seen as a norm, but of course, we all do know that status does play a role in the way science is evaluated and scientists are promoted and so on. But again, as a community of scientists, these are the norms that he identified. By studying scientists, by talking to them, and trying to get at what it is that they implicitly think of when they talk about doing science. So I have a couple of blog posts that you may be interested in looking up. They are from Professor David Stelberger's blog on ethics in science.
Okay, let's move on. So the two norms about communitarianism and disinterestedness, they are basically about trust, right? So both demand honesty and trust. You report what you find, and you do not overclaim anything, you do not underclaim anything, you certainly do not brush aside certain inconvenient things that you find in your research. So since scientific knowledge is cumulative, it draws on a common pool of knowledge, and new knowledge from your work goes back to the pool, and it makes it bigger, and in some cases it corrects some errors in the literature, it makes things better, and so on. And fraud, in this sense, violates this trust. And so it is equivalent to poisoning the pool, and I think that's how I view it. And we will see, next slide. Next slide. Okay, there are cases in life where trust is sort of enforced, right? So we don't automatically trust business people, we don't trust stockbrokers and bondbrokers and bond traders, and we certainly do not trust politicians. And we have a mechanism for enforcing this trust, enforcing that they do the right thing. And for example, we have SEBI and other regulatory bodies to police business, and we have a loophole for policing politics. And the doctors, lawyers, and accountants, they all have their own code of conduct. And any violation, I mean, different levels of violations attract to different levels of punishment, going all the way out to being banished from that profession. But in science, we do not have any such codification, except for violations of those things which are already codified. Your institutional ethics board, for example, is a must for doing such kinds of research. So that part is codified. But this sort of stuff is not codified. And so just in science, that's why
No, it was. Okay, all right. So, I took this thing from British Medical Journal. The editor of, former editor of BMJ, has this thing to say on the BMJ blog, why scientists should be held to a higher standard of honesty than the average person. So this is a very nice quote. If, for example, BMJ receives a paper describing a trial in 200 patients, the editors don't ask to see pictures, signatures, records, and consent forms from the 200 patients. They trust that there were 200 patients in the study, and that the researchers did what they said that they did and reported the outcomes honestly, right? So, so in terms of violations of these norms of trust and honesty, there are big three. And the very first one is fabrication. And the second one is falsification. And the third one is plagiarism. And we can have a discussion later about in what way they violate these things.
But let's go through some case studies. So, Dietrich Staffel, social psychologist, he just made the whole thing up. So he was a very prolific researcher, and he was publishing results that appeared in newspapers, that were given wide publicity by newspapers and so on. This was all back in 2000. The number of painted publications, 55 at least, and they were all retracted. So it was established that it was all absolutely fraudulent, and he just made them up. He just said, I interviewed so many people, and I surveyed so many people, these are the answers, and so on and so forth. The entire thing was made up, and so these things have been retracted. And of course, after being caught, he actually said this. I failed as a scientist. I adapted research data and fabricated research, not once, but several times. I put my field social psychology in a bad light. And I'm ashamed of it and I deeply regret it. It's something that he said much later. And this is a prime example if one wants anything. Anyway, go on. Next slide. This is a celebrated case in our own field, materials physics in particular. And Jan Hendrik Schoen, again, he was working in Bell Labs, I think, as a postdoc, and he produced spectacular results on all kinds of interesting materials, showing all kinds of interesting properties. I mean, he just sent a whole bunch of other researchers because the results were so exciting. It sent them on a major wild goose chase. They just went after those things and so on. And anyway, won major awards in Germany and the US. He was rated for a high position in Germany post that stint in Bell Labs. So later proved he was made up pretty much a big chunk of his data. And back in those days, I could count at least 25 papers that were retracted. And they look at the places where he published. Nature, Science, Physical Regulators, Applied Physics, Advanced Materials. So he just took a whole bunch of very high-profile people in the community for a ride. So the biggest fraud in science, in physics, in the last 50 years, according to the University of Constance, Germany, where he got his PhD. And it later turned out that they had some problem with the thesis also. And they rescinded his PhD and defended that move all the way to the German Supreme Court, and then he does not have a PhD either. Anyway, so again, Wikipedia page has sufficient details about this campaign experience. Next slide. The second one in the big three is falsification. Let's move on. It basically implies massaging of data. You've got a bunch of data, you see some data that do not appear to...
Okay, this one is gone. You might. It keeps going. I don't know why. Presenting only a subset of data by removing inconvenient outliers or even inliers. Right. So one of the very famous cases is from genetics. So Mendel's data, which forms the basis for the theory of genetic inheritance, or at least a theory of inheritance. After taking another look, R.A. Fisher, a statistician, who contributed a lot to developing the theory of inheritance. So he had a look at Mendel's data, and he concluded that the data are too close to the expected behavior. So, I mean, those of you who have studied Mendel stuff, 1 to 3 ratio is what one is expected for certain traits, inheritance of certain traits. And that 3 to 1 ratio is the data of most, if not all, of the experiments have been falsified so as to agree closely with Mendel's expectations. So this again is a no-no, and this again violates the norms of science. Plagiarism is the last of them, and plagiarism is something that you know about. Just copy-paste things from existing papers. And it's the biggest challenge for journal editors back in the day when I was interested in this stuff. But these days, I think pretty much all the journals put your papers through Turnitin and other such software. So now at least software help is available. But back in those days, that was not available. And that's why, this editor said close to 10% of the papers they receive show some signs of academic misconduct, specifically in the form of plagiarism. And there is an interesting case study from India. Go on. Next slide, please. Right. Chiranjeevi from SV University in Tirupati. A chemist in India has been found guilty of plagiarizing and falsifying, because it's a very interesting case. He took up existing papers. He's a chemist, so he changed one element's name or multiple elements' names with some other element's names. And the rest of the paper is basically the same, the figures are the same, and he went ahead and submitted and got them published. And again, this happened at a time when the software tools were not available. And just imagine, just between 2004 and 2007, he had published some 70 research papers. Lots of co-authors, so many of them I went and looked up some of those papers, and lots of them have like 4 or 5 co-authors. Some of them are probably students. And because of, and this the common feature among those 70, his name is a common feature among those 70 papers. So they were all retracted, and one of the underlying causes for the discovery that the entire thing was plagiarized was the introduction of a new tool at that time called ET Blast. So some of you may be aware of this, and it had just been introduced, and it is basically like Turnitin, some proto version of it, and its database consisted of all the full-length papers that appeared in PubMed. So using that, I mean, somebody did a bit of sleuthing and found some 2 or 3. But once you start checking on those 2 or 3, very quickly it unravels, and finally, eventually, he ended up getting most of those papers retracted. And of course, it also formed a major story in chemical and engineering news. Okay, poisoning the pool. In what ways are these violations of norms? Right? Norms themselves are sort of unwritten, but we still think of them as bad actors, bad players, right? And it is in the following sense. Fraud is definitely not a victimless crime. In fact, there is a bunch of people who think that science is a self-correcting enterprise. So if somebody publishes some rubbish, and it's only a matter of time, it will be discovered and science will move on and so on. But in that sort of argument, the entire business of fraud in science is treated as a victimless crime. So who is being affected here, right, is the question. And of course, it is my case that it is not a victimless crime. It does real damage. It is dangerous. All you need to think of is some clinical trial which was all fudged, which was all based on fudged data, and that means lives could be at stake. And it is wasteful. Verifying findings. I mean, verifying good findings itself is difficult, but now you are going after bad findings or fabricated findings, which is basically what catapulted Schoen to the heights of the field. I mean, he was a very young researcher, and he was already slated for big things in life. And so verifying, I mean, and he, because of the fantasticness of his nature of his results, a whole bunch of people started working on those materials, trying to fabricate them, trying to test them using very sophisticated equipment, and lots of PhD students wasted their time. So it is definitely wasteful. It's also a money sink, and that is, it's not just waste of people's time, but it is also a money sink. And finally, I also want to say benefits to the fraudster. Just imagine, in those 3 years, Chiranjeevi published a whole bunch of papers and so on. But if I believe he was a professor at that time, but just imagine if he had done all that when he was younger, and yeah, he would have been promoted. If all this was went undiscovered, then he would have been promoted. And like I said, he may even be sitting in promotion committees later. And that there is something that is inherently unfair about this. It stops scientific progress. Scientific knowledge may remain in this poisoned state for a very long time. Discovery, we all think that discovery of fraud in science is is quick and we should be able to do it and so on. But to this day, some of you may be following this blog called the Retraction Watch. To this day, it reports on very, very high-profile retractions, high-profile studies being retracted, and so on. So it stops the scientific progress. The field of social psychology went into a deep introspection. They had to figure out what went wrong. If the field has journals that keeps publishing papers that the reviewers are not able to figure out whether they are correct or not, then the entire field went into a major introspection. And one of the consequences, we all hear about the replication studies in medicine. And in a similar way, in social psychology also, they came up with a list of top 50 major findings in social psychology, and got funding for replication studies as well. And finally, additional pain, bureaucracy. Your university will have to set up a committee. Those guys will have to go into each case and so on and so forth. And so all that is a waste of money. There's a lot of bureaucracy that gets involved. And now pretty much every university invests tons of money on Turnitin, which is a travesty. Anyway, so how bad is it? Just in the 21st century, and my list stops by about 2018 or so. And just look at the numbers. The third one is pretty interesting. Some anesthesiologist, I think, from Japan. 172 papers were retracted as of that time. Again, this is data from Retraction Watch. And of course, there's a whole bunch of Wang Woo-suk is a guy who cloned a goat, I think. So again, did something, basically fabrication and falsification was involved in that, and so on. So many of them. And look at the places that they come from, right? So there is this myth that only the little people commit fraud. They are the ones who do terrible things, but not so. Just look at all these guys. Schoen was in Bell Labs. That's where he did all these shady things. Stapel was in a major university in the Netherlands, and so on and so forth. And there is somebody called Mark Hauser from Harvard as well. So it is not just the little people who commit fraud. There are big institutions, big people in big institutions who have also been outed as fraudsters. Yeah, go on. So, is this a sudden assault on science? Again, my submission is that misconduct used to happen earlier also. It appears to have grown tremendously in this century. And so, are we living in a particularly bad time wherein everybody is willing to lie, everybody is willing to fabricate things and then falsify things? But these are some of the hypotheses that one could think of. More science is getting done, and therefore, there is more people are involved in doing science, and therefore, if you think of the number of people, the proportion of people who commit this sort of stuff being the same, you just have more people, committing fraud. We have better methods for detection. So ET blast is something that I've already mentioned. That came online in 2007. Hundreds of papers were outed for plagiarism, including some 70 plus papers from Chiranjeevi's group. Crowdsourcing. Many of you have heard of the site called PubPeer. That is post-publication peer review, and in which people post comments on specific papers, and you can go there and do a search based on DOI of any paper. And if you don't see any comment on certain DOI, it means, so far nobody has discovered any problem there. But problematic things, people post comments anonymously, but it has to be backed up with specifics. So usually, many of the things that are flagged there are in biomedical sciences, and they say, okay, in this paper, this figure has a problem. In what way? This figure looks very, very similar to another paper from the same group, but ostensibly on some other molecule or some other system or whatever, right? So this kind of overlap in figures is very, very unlikely, and therefore I flag this. And in some cases, they are from the same authors groups, but in some cases, they could also be from other places. Many of the comments are of that kind, but PubPeer is one such place. So there is a law in computer programming, open source programming in particular. It's called Linus's law. With enough eyeballs, all bugs are shallow. That means you are bound to catch them. When many people are interested in looking at your work critically, then any such problems. And some people have become actually famous. Many of them are anonymous comments, but some people have become very famous because of the way in which their superior levels of memory allow them to find patterns and out them. And one such name is Professor Dr. Elizabeth Bick, I think, B-I-K. She has been profiled in New York Times and The Guardian and so on. And she has been posting comments in PubPeer using her own name. And if she publishes a comment in her own name about any of your papers, you need to be worried. Like I said, it's also possible that more of the work is done by less competent people, again, as a hypothesis. And maybe researchers are unaware that they are committing a crime. And one of the ideas behind this exercise, this workshop, is that you should not be able to claim that you were unaware. So there are certain practices that are bad for science, and plagiarism, and to a smaller extent falsification, they could fall under this category. Fabrication, you definitely know. You are doing something shady. Bad incentives, and there is a view that the current practices of evaluating scientists and institutions and departments is acting as a bad incentive for people to commit fraud. Some of you may have heard about an article in Science about a university near Chennai, Savita University. Many of you may have heard about it. And there are issues of that kind where large numbers of papers appear, and they also cite other papers from the same university and so on. That is the gist of that article in Science. So there is a view that the current practices, again, ranking is something that has become a part of our life now, and that is forcing institutions to take up some of these bad practices, to encourage such bad practices in the name of increasing their publication count, in the name of increasing their citation count and so on. But in any case, So I'm going to leave you with some resources here. So Robert Merton's article itself is called The Normative Structure of Science, 1942. And of course, there are websites that I've referred to. And there are some two popular science articles, books, that talk about various aspects of fraud in science. The biggest fraud in physics, that is about Schoen. And the second one is also about Schoen, I think. Both of them, With that, I will stop, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Abhinandan. It was a wonderful talk. Hope all the delegates, students, most of them are doing research. They got benefited. And the research ethics publication ethics are most essential. Most of our students initially they make mistakes, but we have to practice cultivating very good research, doing a very good research. Otherwise, we end up with if fraud research, they leads to a big threat in the pool of knowledge. Hence, even UGC also introduced a new paper, a 2-credit paper, research and publication ethics, which is very, very essential. Hope our resource person has covered that also. It was a wonderful session. Now I will open it for question, and let your question be very, straight and brief. Yeah, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir. Very informative and fantastic talk. It was very beneficial for the researchers like us. I have one question. Like when we write some paper and do the plagiarism check, sometimes what happens, the very common words that are already used by many people, like some method, some characterization techniques, that also will be catching on that plagiarism check, and that will keep on increasing the plagiarism percentage.
True.
So how to, like, that may be sometimes 15% or more than that. So that time we will be confused how we'll change that, like hydrothermal treatment or like X-ray diffraction. So it will be also called plagiarism.
I agree. I think journal editors are aware of this problem, at least for the methodology part, especially coming from the same group. That is, multiple papers coming from the same group. The methodology part would have a great deal of overlap. It is something that they would also recognize. I don't think they would really punish you for this, unless they just go blindly by some scores spit out by Turnitin. Practice your English. That's all I can say. Try to come up with new ways of writing it. I really have no solution for this. I mean, don't ask me. It gets us into the realm of how to beat Turnitin. That's not. There's no way around it. But whenever you do it, please make sure that your article, the first time around when you check, is not included in Turnitin databases right away. Let it get into Turnitin database at the very end. That is after the paper is published. Because the second time, I mean, suppose you submit something today, and then let's say the paper gets rejected, and you are reworking on this paper. There will be a huge overlap. Again, you will have to go through Turnitin. If you had submitted the first submission, first paper, first manuscript, if it has gone into the Turnitin database, the second time around it will flag. It will flag the second manuscript with a large percentage of overlap. So just make sure that you take care of that. You wait until the paper gets published, and then it will automatically go into Turnitin anyway. So, but until then, just do it in that mode. I think there is a particular mode that you can use wherein it doesn't get into the Turnitin database right away.
Okay, any other questions? Questions from other hall?
One thing I have just mentioned.
Please.
How can a researcher ethically use the AI tools to write manuscripts and proposals? Is it possible? So.
Okay. Remember, there is something shady about this in this following way. You are signing off saying that this is mine, and that includes the writing, right? So I don't think it is allowed, and of course I think the journals are also upping their game in these days. I mean, Turnitin type of things are available for detecting AI generated text as well, and apparently AI programs also generate text in a particular way, which people have already figured out. Maybe using other AI tools, I don't know. But but the bottom line is this: there is a problem here, and that problem has to be recognized. You are signing off saying that this is mine. Okay, if the writing is not yours, then what right do you have to claim that it is yours? So,
I just mentioned about that Elizabeth Bick that you mentioned. She made the name because of the way that she can recognize the images, because most of the AI tools are for the texts, whereas she is mostly using her eyes normally. But I don't know any AI tools are there nowadays for image detection.
I mean, once you have a library of images, I think the present day AI will also be able to do it. But if you ask a specific question to an AI program, have you seen this? I mean, we all do image search, right? We put in an image and then AI gives you back similar images from other places and so on. So I think, I mean, AI will eventually get there. But of course, I mean, she was doing all this over the last, 10, 15 years or so.
It's mostly manually.
Yeah, she has a tremendous memory. So she is able to see one picture here and suddenly recall seeing a similar picture sometime earlier. That's what we would remember, but sometimes she would be actually able to pick up that particular paper itself. And like I said, I mean, she has been profiled. Long form articles exist about her phenomenal capability in Guardian, the New York Times, and so on. Yeah. Right.
Any other questions? What?
So on the behalf of Bangalore University and at the same time on the behalf of PAIR team from Bangalore University, we would like to extend very good gratitude to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So on behalf of Bangalore University and the PAIR team, may I request Professor Hanjigi to give a memento and a sapling to Professor Abhinandan. So many thanks to Professor Hanjigi also for chairing the session. Thank you, sir. So we will now move on to the panel discussions. I will hand it over to our moderator, Dr. Vishnu.
So it is actually not every day we get many of the faculties from IISc to come to our campus. Normally when you organize conferences, we only have selective and then throughout the country and states and all. So when I heard that some 8 or 10 IISc faculty is coming, so I thought of putting on idea that we'll have some panel discussion. And when you give an idea, it becomes your idea and you have to implement. So everybody said, why don't you plan it? So then I thought how to go about doing it. So we heard few lectures. We're starting with the PR program and how PR program has come, and then how to put an idea into practice, and then funding opportunities, and finally the ethics that it's ended with. So what we're thinking is few of our professors whom we meet because of the PR programs and some of them we have not been able to introduce to the crowd because we have not been able to give them a platform. So we have interacted briefly and sometimes we talk. So I'll just give mic to them, and I know their name and I'll just tell their name, but they can talk little bit about the work they do, and then from there the idea would be to ask questions, make the floor open, and it's very informal that you can ask questions based on certain things. Don't ask tomorrow I want to go and start working with you lab and all. So that doesn't really work well. So because few of the professors has been introduced, so few haven't been. So for example, we'll start with Professor Avik Chaudhary here.
Hello everyone. I'm essentially looking after the structural materials part of this project, which has Shibpur and NIT Nagaland and professors from those two are the two places where the people are involved. So my group essentially works on both computational and experimental aspects. Presently our work is a lot of focus on additive manufacturing and finding out new strategies for developing technology-relevant additive manufacturing. So that's essentially what we do now.
So it's a computational chemist in short. So next we'll go to Professor Rajamalli. He is a professor in Material Research Center.
Hello, yeah, myself, I'm Raja Malli. I'm looking after University of Calicut for particularly assisting them purchasing the big equipments. And my research focus on organic light emitting diodes. Basically, we start with the synthesis, organic mostly, and then we do all type of photophysical studies, starting from fluorescence, phosphorescence, time resolved emission, and quantum yield, and then we also fabricate the devices and test their performance and also lifetime of the devices.
Thank you. Professor Ava Mishra here.
Hello everyone, good to see all of you here. And so my name is Ava Mishra. I'm professor in the Department of Instrumentation and Applied Physics at IISc. And how I'm associated with pair program is, so I'm coordinating for the functional group and specifically associated with the Pondicherry University. So, so what I work in IISc is I work on developing small scale devices which can be utilized for sensing applications as well as energy storage. Looks very different, contrasting areas of research, but we try to combine and there is some common aspects which we look for. So because when you go to the small scale, you really see a lot of wonders, and where basically you can see the common features. When you can store the energy at the same time, you can sense also certain things. So this is what I do in IISc. Thank you.
So I think we crowd have fairly know who are the faculties, and they're experts, and some of them have been working for more than 30-35 years. Some of them are in the age group 40s and so on. So I think we have a fairly good variety of crowd, and also some of them are handling projects on their own, not only just one, multiple. And the pair program essentially allows us to start with this. So this is one such program, and is the program for 5 years, so that allows us even more, wider canvas that we can actually work on. So, anyone have any specific query about like certain things, starting with the discussion that has happened with the inaugural session, and then followed by the. So it can be given, and I can just give the mic to the specific experts on that. So, anyone has any specific query? So sometimes there is always this breaking ice, so maybe I have to do something of that. So I was thinking that pair program we are doing with Bangalore University and IISc. We are 9 faculty members involved in this project, but it is between 2 institutions. So maybe, and I'll request Professor Praveen Kumar to tell a little bit about how more bigger way Bangalore University can get involved, the other departments and faculties, and then we can widen it more.
Thanks. So maybe I can come there. So thanks for having us here. And actually this is one way by which IISc and Bangalore University can interact. Because we were thinking that whether we should have this workshop at IISc and invite a few of you. Then we thought that, okay, if we do that, then only selected few of you can come to our campus. Not 150 people can attend it. So we thought that, okay, we should do at Bangalore University so that more people from Bangalore University in general can interact with us, can be part of this exercise. And there will be many of such events that we will organize where we will come to your campus, and of course we will also invite you to visit our campus. So next week we are organizing a workshop, a technical workshop on XRD and SEM. And I think 11 participants from Bangalore University are coming to IISc. We'll spend a week together and we'll learn about things. Similarly, later on we will organize workshops on computational materials, workshops relevant to functional materials. And again, these workshops, whether they are organized at IISc or we will come here, these are open for everybody in Bangalore University. This is not only between interaction between 30 of investigators at IISc and 9 investigators at Bangalore Universities. So we are looking for the interacting with a good majority of people here and with large majority of the people at IISc. So this is just an example. If I give more examples, for example, now we have worked with our institute, IISc, to provide, let's say, special rates of usage of our equipments for everybody involved in the pair program. Now that goes beyond the investigators who are participating in the pair. So the internal user charges. So if you want to use facilities at IISc, you have to pay exactly the same amount of money that we pay as a faculty member at IISc. And this is not limited to 9 people here. This is actually for everybody in Bangalore University. So there are, as we discussed, this is actually an institutional partnership. Of course, when we are doing institutional partnership, a few people are ambassadors. But that's all we are. We are just ambassadors to a program that is actually conducted between the two institutes, which are IISc and Bangalore University in this case. It gives us a window to look into what is going on in Bangalore University. It also gives you a window of knowing what is going on in IISc. And if you think that your work can get benefited by collaborating with somebody at IISc through this channel, you can approach us, or you can approach directly to the faculty member. And we look forward that with the time, at the next 5 years, we are together formally in this program. And of course, we want to continue to collaborate much longer. We look forward that many of you will be able to write joint proposals with us at faculty members in IISc, which we can then submit and get funded from different funding agencies. So this is, in some sense, by going by the spirit of pair program, this formal engagement is just a seed. We are looking forward to a much wider collaborations, and we are trying at our end, how can we benefit more of you? And if you come up with any idea that, if we can do this thing at IISc and some more of you can get benefited, please do share with us, and we will be happy to implement those ideas. So, thanks.
Thank you. So I think, set the stage for us, then why we are here and how we can, expand us. So in this line only, I'll just mention that, if you look into the ANRF website nowadays, they are putting on pre-announcements of the proposals. For example, ARG proposal has already been announced, which just closed for the previous round, and which is in the 1st of April. So essentially we have 3-4 months to start working on it. And that, I think, is a lot of time to create a good fundable proposals, which Professor Vikram Jayaraman was mentioning in the morning about that, how we start early. But I think, although we start early, but we do it at the last end. But we'll then, I have one more question which I got from the other room. I think it's for Dr. Rohit, mentioning that do you have any separate hand-holding type proposal submission process, or do you do any kind of a course that can be given?
Actually, at ISC, we have a grant writing and management online course, which is offered from the Center for Continued Education, which is scheduled on between 19th to 21st, 3 days. It is a 3-hour program, each day 1 hour between 7 to 8. So, and anyone outside ISC, they are eligible to submit an application for that. If anybody is interested, I'll give you the link so that you can share it with the participants. So, at the end of the session, you will get a certificate from the ISC for taking up that course. So, we have a course. So, for basically for the grant writing and management. It's purely completely online. Yeah.
So we are aware that there are many participants from outside Bangalore University who came in and around different colleges and institutions. If you have any specific questions, you can also ask them, and to us also, that we are not also, that just because we are hosting it doesn't mean that you cannot ask us questions. You can also ask us the questions. So anyone has any other, because we should also give them opportunity. We should not only talk about ourselves.
So good evening. Myself Ramesh Reddy. I am from Presidency University. So recently we are studying, many calls are from academia to industry partnership only. So I want to know from the professors what methodology you have to follow, sir. Since till now it is lab research and paperwork only. Now it came to translation research. At this moment, what methodology has to follow?
Would you like to take?
Well, if you look at the industrial programs, okay, I can speak from my experience at the Institute. Industries will approach you when they have a sense, this is a confidence built up over a period of time, maybe through individual interactions with professors, that the institution as a whole has something to offer. I'm talking about umbrella programs, that is where the whole, the company comes and wants to set up a joint R&D laboratory. Individual projects are left to the initiative of faculty members. It has to be driven by the faculty member. A grants office can only facilitate by possibly providing, let's say, a research park type environment. You know, many universities have incubators, research parks. They provide facilities for startups or for the company to have their own scientists sitting there of that kind. So historically it has evolved, I think, through individuals. But now once the institution acquires a certain reputation, industries will automatically come because they know that somebody else, if Siemens has something, then, GE or somebody will say, oh, why don't we do that? So then it sort of builds on itself. Consultancy is a different game. You're a civil engineer, so civil engineers are very good at getting consulting money because they very readily can interact with programs where there are statutory permissions and other things needed. So it depends on the field, really.
Thank you. Anyone has any other specific query? You can just introduce briefly about you. Just your name.
I'm Deepthi. I'm from Department of Environmental Science, Bangalore University. So recently, the ICSSR, when they called for their project proposals, so they had like 10% of plagiarism is what they will accept for the proposal. So is there the same criteria for any of the ANRF?
I think then we'll request Professor Abhinandan to comment a little bit. I mean, you already touched on.
Again, if the funding agency is imposing that kind of a restriction on you, it is really unfortunate, but you just have to follow it. I have really no insight into how to deal with this sort of stuff. So, but at least you already have done it here itself in using Turnitin. So, okay. I have, by the way, you had asked a question from the other hall about the use of AI. So I just want to make one comment and then Praveen will make another comment. One is that ISC recently came up with a policy on use of AI in research. It's one of the most liberal policies you can imagine. So it simply says use AI for any part of your research process. Idea generation or making connections between your ideas and some other ideas and so on. Things that you may not have thought of. So it is okay to use AI for all aspects of research, but with the due care, due acknowledgement, and if you are a student, with the knowledge of the research supervisor. So it is possible, but that specific question was about writing papers. And again on that, Praveen made an observation which I was not aware of.
So now, actually, if you submit papers, you will see there will be like earlier we used to do acknowledgement, declaration, like financial conflict of interest declaration. The same way you will see there will be another line saying AI declaration. In there, you have to declare how you have used AI tools in whatever way, and then the journals can take a call. Generally, if you have written a paper on your own, and if you just want to tweak the language, because of course you want to fix the grammar, you want to fix a little bit of the language, that is generally acceptable for many journals, but this has to be declared. You have to make an AI statement and say that I have used AI tools, let's say ChatGPT, Gemini, or whatever you are using, to improve the language. But the AI itself has not written it. You have written it, and you have just used it to fix the language. Like Grammarly is another tool that we often use to make sure that our the and apps, all of these things are in place. Those we don't have to declare because they are just very minor grammatical changes. But wherever you have used anything where you have restructured something or written something, not original writing, just fixing the language, these things have to be declared. If you do that, it's perfectly fine. Now the journals can take a call. Everybody knows how you have used the AI. Yeah.
Thank you. I am Mallikarjun from Ramaya University of Applied Sciences, and some of IAC professors declared that the forum or whatever the collaboration right now IAC along with Bangalore University has paid up under pay program. Is it at least, if not full-fledged way, little bit of the facilities or whatever the concessional rates of the facilities what other institutions can also use, make use of the IAC facilities, can it be extendable for other institutions also? Or is there any intermediate program, or we have to come up with, again, pair up with IASC? I just want to know.
Maybe I'll just myself will answer a little bit on this because I'm part of that program. So one of the easier way, which is like if you collaborate. So it's not that I'm welcoming everyone to collaborate. It's like overlapping your research interest. So if you collaborate, so we can always come up with a way where few of the things that you use maybe use through our labs. So that way we can expand ourselves. Actually, the idea when we were discussing briefly, it was like we can expand as much as possible, but we need to have we have all limited resource. Although the money looks a lot, but if you look into the spread that is happening, it's almost across the country. There are 7 spokes in there, and it's throughout the country, and the money looks very big, but actually when you spread, it's not much over a period of 5 years. So the resource is limited for everything. At the same time, there is a way, always if there is overlap of the research and overlap of the work, I think it is possible to include people who are genuinely interested to do research. And sometimes if somebody from small colleges or universities want to do research, I think everybody encourages, including us. And it is also one of our obligations to essentially help to do things. Not just them. They are always helping us. But at the same time, you can also take help from us as well to do it. So, we might have more questions. Maybe we can give few questions and then we'll close it because it can keep on going on. So we will not keep troubling things.
Good afternoon all. Myself Asha, research scholar from Department of Geology, Bangalore University. So first of all, I'd like to thank Anusandhan National Research Foundation for bringing up such a great opportunity for all the research scholars. Like being very, there is no discrimination as such, like there is no particular qualification, but the only thing that is required is dedication towards research. Through this gateway, I got to know that there is a great opportunity for taking ACM photographs, otherwise charged, but now I have an opportunity to get to know how the operation procedure is. So in the next coming week, I'm very much interested because that will actually help me in my research in determining the family in which my microorganisms actually belong, because I am working on marine ostracods and they have very robust ornamentation. So which will actually help me a lot. I was looking forward for this, and I had contacted Sudhir, who is actually a awardee of ICMS, past 29th ICMS, which was held in Delhi University. So I look forward to come to IISc for my work, sir. Thank you so much.
So I think we had few rounds, and they are, as you can see, they are always very open in discussing, and you can reach out to them and also to us, not just them, we are also there. So therefore, I'll just close the panel discussion and I'll hand over the mic But feel free to have this discussion going because it is a start of our first sort of workshop that we are doing under peer. So we will have many more such as they were mentioning. And the idea is to keep continuing discussion so that we can all expand.
So we come to the close of this one-day workshop. Thank you all for being here, being present right till the very end. And thanks to, of course, all our esteemed professors from ISC who have spent their time and been with us and clarified a whole bunch of our own ideas, doubts, discussions, whatever we needed. So there will be a tea after this, so kindly join for tea, and if you feel free to carry on the discussions with whomsoever you feel like, because this is, after all, we are kind of creating a platform for more discussions. Yeah. So, yeah, I would.
It's an announcement for the participants. So those who are interested in having a participation certificate, so we'll be issuing a e-certificate maybe after some time. We'll compile all the list of who are all interested in having a participation certificate. So we'll issue later. Okay. So thank you.